I sought to figure out how to do research with people with profound intellectual and multiple disabilities. That how to do with is a question that extends beyond research. You could be looking at how to meaningfully share any activity, and you'd be asking similar questions to the ones that I asked. So I had read all of that wonderful research that had been done for and around people with profound intellectual and multiple disabilities, and there were some themes that emerged through that. So one of them that was really key was the importance of spending prolonged time with people, that you can't meaningfully engage with this population unless you know them really, really well, and it takes time to get to know them really, really well. And so various people point to how they were able to, one person said, I had a 14-year relationship with this person before I started to be able to do meaningful work with them. And I always think of teachers who, you know, you have a child in your class for a couple of years and then they go, or just a year. Imagine having a 14-year run up to understand. Imagine how much more powerful that work would be if you had that time to get to know them. And we can't all have 14 years, but recognizing that having a chunk of time is valuable and being as greedy as you can about that is really significant. Another thing that came out was the importance of listening in different ways. So in 2017 I wrote, a person's ability to communicate is not dependent on their being able to master certain skills. It's dependent on our ability to listen. And that's a little quote now in the core and essential service standards for supporting people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. But that idea of listening in different ways is one that you hear throughout the work around profound disability. You've got people sharing stories, you've got people doing multimedia work. There's a glorious paper where people listen through swinging on a swing, and it's just sublime. I won't attempt to say the authors' names, but I'll make sure it's in the comments wherever they might be. There is the idea that in order to listen to somebody with profound intellectual and multiple disability, you just ask their parent, or you ask the person next to them, like, what does this person like? And that's a good shortcut generally, because it's likely that the person next to them has had a lot of time, has listened to them in different ways, does know. But that reliance on proxy voice is dangerous. And it's even there within, so like the UK Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Code of Practice mandates that local authorities must not use the views of parents as a proxy for young people's views. There's a requirement to try and listen directly to that person. And whilst many people with profound intellectual and multiple disabilities have reliable proxies who are probably the closest to their voice that you would get when you're requiring standardized forms of communication, not everybody does. I am very aware that when I go and visit my friend Chloe, there are people who live in the home that she lives in who do not get visitors, and they will have care staff who know them reasonably well, but they will also have a high turnover of care staff. You might have bank staff working. There is nobody who holds a deep understanding of who those people are, and they are the most vulnerable. And so if we can work out ways to listen that would include those most vulnerable, then that's presumably a useful thing. And there's other issues around proxy reporting. There's work that shows, unsurprisingly, the difference between a parent as a proxy voice and a paid member of staff as a proxy voice. It's no big reveal there, is it? A parent generally knows their young person or their adult person better than somebody who's paid to work with them does. There's work that, Johanna Rohr summarises a concern that's common. She said, we worry that the original voices we are trying to amplify are at risk of being dubbed by carers and researchers with their own interpretations. And that's just human, isn't it? For all that I might be trying to listen to you and to voice what you would think, part of who I am and what I think is going to colour what I say. It is just going to happen, isn't it? And people can try really hard to weed themselves out, but a little bit will always get through. So there's that value in hearing direct from the person themselves is really key, and that's key across all practice. So how do you listen directly to that person, and how many ways have you got of listening directly to that person? And then the third theme that came through, and it was an interesting one because it was a little 2-word phrase that popped up in lots of the work that I read, and it was the importance of being with people with profound intellectual and multiple disabilities. And quite often just that being with was just a bit of a sentence, and the sentence was about something else. But because I read so much of this work, I kept kind of, seeing it multiple times over. You keep seeing it, felt like more. Like it's more than just spending a lot of time. You could spend a lot of time with somebody and not have been with them. Do you catch that nuance? And so I became interested in what being with them might mean, and that was a stepping stone for how my work progressed.